Cersei Lannister, last of her name, one of the last members of her house, is not going to go down without a fight. I mean, just think about it. The sigil for House Lannister is a lion. Lions aren't exactly one to just give up. Same can be attributed to Cersei Lannister's character. A lot of people tend to think that she's going to end up dying by the final season of Game of Thrones. I, however, do not think so. I believe Cersei Lannister has one last trick up her sleeve in regards to Game of Thrones Season 8. Before we get started, I'm in fact having a giveaway where you can win a $25 Amazon gift card, and the winner will be selected on February 5th. In order to enter this giveaway, all you have to do is leave a like on this video, make sure you leave a comment down below, go ahead and subscribe, and then turn your notifications on so that way you get alerted every time I drop Game of Thrones videos. Also, check the Gleam.io link down below to enter all the different bonus ways to win the contest. In the last scene that we see Cersei, she's having a conversation with her brother and her lover. They shared a wound together. Their bond is probably one of the closest things that Cersei's ever felt to true love. We do know that Jaime feels true love for Cersei, but Cersei likely does not feel the same for him. It's actually mentioned in the novels and in the TV show that Cersei sleeps with Jaime simply because it feels good. Now, yes, just like a lot of other characters on the TV show, they hide their true intentions and their true emotions, but when it comes to Jaime leaving her, she definitely felt a lot of heartbreak, and this makes her even less stable going into Game of Thrones Season 8. If you remember, in the last scene that she has with Jaime, she pretty much tells us what her exact motivation and what her plans are going to be going into Season 8. Now, yes, she tells Jon Snow and Daenerys one thing, but then she quickly tells Jaime, after calling him the stupidest Lannister, she claims that she always knew that he's the stupidest Lannister, and she tells us what she plans on doing. She's going to hire the Golden Company. She's going to get the Golden Company to come and work for her. She sent Euron to go and retrieve them, and that leaves us with the big idea, or the big reveal rather, for Season 8, is what is the reasoning behind getting the Golden Company. This entire conversation between Jaime and Cersei is nothing but foreshadowing. The whole time Cersei is telling Jaime that, look, they're going to try to kill us anyway, and I don't really care what you think the right thing to do is. We have to take care of them. Like, we have to remember that we're Lannisters, and the Starks and the Targaryens want to kill us anyway, and hopefully they're going to go up and fight the dead and then die in the process of fighting the undead. When Jaime tells Cersei that he's seen them on an open battle, there's no way that they could contest them in a field. This is when Cersei brings up the fact that, you know, they're mostly going to die. Then she mentions that didn't Daenerys have 3 dragons? And Jaime says the other dragon could be guarding a fleet for all they know, and Cersei says no, she brought all of her forces here. She wants to show us her power. So in Cersei's mind, she believes that this is all Daenerys has. So if Cersei wants to get rid of them once and for all, she does know that Daenerys' dragons are vulnerable, so they have a good chance of completely being wiped out by the undead, but also she knows that they're powerful, so they have a massive chance, a way better chance, of defeating these hordes of the undead than she herself does. Cersei will use every advantage in her power to assure the Night King and all of his undead forces destroy Daenerys and the remaining members of House Stark. She does not want to have to deal with them. What's one way that Cersei deals with her enemies? She's honestly going to be known, if these events are ever told to anyone in the future of Westeros, Cersei will likely be known as the Wildfire Queen. She blew up the Sept of Baelor, which was an amazing monument that stood for ages in King's Landing. We do know that a lot of these events are going to be retold eventually throughout history, and I think Cersei's going to be known as the Wildfire Queen. So if anyone's keeping count here, Cersei is against House Stark, House Targaryen, and the army of the undead. More so House Stark and House Targaryen, because she knows that those are actual physical threats. And yes, she did see the White Walker, or she did see the White rather, but that doesn't really mean too much to her, because it's one. She's seen the massive army of Dothraki, and she knows what Jon Snow and House Stark is capable of. So those are her number one threats. I've said this many a times before. I honestly believe that Cersei surviving is going to be a big part of the bittersweet ending. And yes, it's obvious that if any good guys are left alive, that they could just have her executed, but part of that bittersweet ending means that Cersei is still in power. I honestly think that if all this happens, Jon and Dany may not even want the crown, so Cersei could then have the one remaining army and also enough money and gold to control and influence the Seven Kingdoms. Now, I know that that's a little bit tinfoily, and I do doubt that that's how it will go down, but just amazing how bittersweet that would be if this were the case. So backtracking a bit here, if we're comparing Cersei Lannister to a wounded lion, because if you remember, the conversation that she had with Jaime left her in probably the most pain, more pain than having her children die. Because honestly, once she got to the point where Tommen jumped out the window, she felt something, but hardly anything. This last thing that she had to live for was this relationship with Jaime, and, you know, there's this child being brought up, which is something all for another video in and of itself, because I don't even know if Cersei's actually pregnant. But this relationship with Jaime is one of the last good things she had going for her. So Cersei's a wounded animal, a wounded lion at that. And what are animals who are in pain known to do? Lash out. Cersei Lannister is going to become wildly unpredictable in Game of Thrones Season 8, and no one is going to be expecting what it is she does. One thing that the actors all keep reminding us is that it's unpredictable and no one really knows what's happening. Lena Headey herself actually mentioned that there was at least one point in the initial script read in October that someone broke down crying. A different character ended up breaking down crying. Now, she does mention that, yes, she cried, but the main thing that I got from her message was that she was surprised. And since we're talking about surprising things, one thing that brings the most surprises is when you pay attention to the Game of Thrones Season 8 spoilers. Now, this is the part of the video where anyone who doesn't want to know anything that's been confirmed through outside filming of Game of Thrones Season 8, go ahead and click out of the video right now. Please slap a like on this and make sure you remember to leave a comment down below telling me your thoughts on what crazy plan you think Cersei Lannister will have going into Game of Thrones Season 8. Now, for all of those of us who suffer from the long night syndrome, let's discuss the latest news to come out of Northern Ireland. So apparently, the Winterfell set, which is famously filmed there, has stood in place for Winterfell since way back in Season 1. They actually lit this place on fire. It went up in flames. Up in flames. So that means that not only is Winterfell going to be burning, and it's on such a massive scale that they had to film outdoors and using all of this open space, and the few photos that we got from it, you can see how insanely huge these flames are. And this looks like the famous part of Winterfell where a lot of members of House Stark stood. So if we see this burning in Season 8, that lets you know, and I love saying this, but just how serious everything is in Season 8, the final season of Game of Thrones. So with that being said, there are one, maybe three different options that could be actually going on here. Now, if you read the comments on Reddit, or if you read the comments on the Watchers on the Wall / Winter is Coming sites, a lot of people are immediately leaning towards this being the Night King. The Night King obviously has blue flame out of his dragon, so all of this normal colored fire will be rendered a different color in post-production. I, however, am not a proponent of this theory, and here's why. Winterfell is famously in the middle of the north, so if the last place we saw the Night King was at the Wall, how could he fly all the way from Eastwatch to Winterfell and get there before Dany and Jon sail there from Dragonstone? It's just not possible. Now, obviously, Dany and Jon can make other stops on the way into Winterfell, but is the Night King really stupid enough to fly down to Winterfell, this massive castle, one of the most well-guarded places in all of King's Landing, as of right now with the Knights of the Vale being outside the doors, and then Mord Dothraki and Unsullied on their way there? Is he really that stupid to fly there solo and then set everything ablaze? Now, obviously, the intelligence of the White Walkers and the Great Other and the Night King has something to yet be explored, but we do know that he's not a dummy. Just think about how slow all of his army marches. Now, yes, he does have the biggest army in the Seven Kingdoms as of right now, arguably the biggest army, but he knows that they move way too slow in order to fly in for a sneak attack like that. But he doesn't want to leave himself. Well, let me rephrase that. If I were him, I wouldn't want to leave myself out in the open like that. I would at least want to have some other White Walkers around with me just in case, so once we started killing their soldiers, we can immediately turn them back, even though I'm on the back of Drogon. Now, yeah, I know, I meant Viserion, but I just said Drogon because a lot of people hear me say something wrong, then they immediately jump down in the comment section and start telling me about it. But I'm just going to leave that in there as bait for those people. But anyway, if I were the Night King, I would definitely want to bring some White Walkers with me, because it may be hard to control the undead dragon and then turn people over. So that's why I don't think that first option, the theory that everyone's jumping on, is that viable, because Winterfell's in the middle of the north, so that'd be a lot of flying, and it would be silly for the Night King to do this knowing that his troops move as slow as they do. Now, yes, he could bring White Walkers with him and they could ride on horseback, but then he's separating his army where he's literally cutting it off from the head and then leaving the body somewhere wandering around up north. Now, yes, he would obviously leave White Walkers to control that army, but I think the second option is just that, is that the first one happens, it just has major plot holes and loops in it, and they just wanted to show Winterfell burning and doing it quickly. I don't even want to give the second option too much attention because I know that this final season of Game of Thrones would not have a massive plot hole like that. So that brings me on to the third option. It's totally possible for Cersei Lannister to either have some remaining Lannister forces that stayed loyal to her that Jaime were not able to sway over to his side to go and attack Winterfell, since we know that they're no longer there. Their forces aren't necessarily scattered, but it would be easy for Cersei to have 20 good men fly up to Winterfell, and instead of trying to attack it and take it over, just completely destroy it. She could send them with wildfire. Now, yes, it's hard to transport wildfire, but this is the final season, so everything's going to be getting epic. She could have them take several wagons of it and just pour it all over the city and then light it on fire. That is the simplest plan ever, and having Winterfell destroyed by wildfire shows you that not only do Jon and Daenerys have the Night King and the Undead to worry about, but they also have Cersei Lannister to deal with. It's totally possible that the same thing that can be attributed to the first theory, which is that the CGI flame from Viserion's breath will be rendered blue, it could be rendered green just as well for wildfire. Another thing that we have to consider in regards to the spoilers that were announced yesterday, which I did a video on, you can actually click right up here and that'll take you straight to that video, but you have to consider the fact that all of these characters are in Iceland, which we know has been used for being filmed north of the Wall. So this, if my theory is correct about Cersei burning down Winterfell, it would make a little bit more sense because everyone is now regrouping north of the Wall. And if this were the Night King attacking, that would mean that Jon Snow and Daenerys should theoretically be arriving there at the same time. They would then fight off the Night King, and hopefully they would be able to make Winterfell stand, not having it burned immediately. So if this makes sense, then Cersei has already sent these forces, so they were already on their way to Winterfell even before we saw boat sex, so that means that they definitely have the chance of getting there, burning everything, and then Jon Snow and Daenerys arrive to this chaos, and then quickly try to swoop in and catch any stragglers and any survivors. Another thing we have to remember about my version of this theory is it actually makes the most sense, because if Cersei goes ahead and sends those Lannister troops to go and burn Winterfell, then she's taking care of the last resort House Stark and House Targaryen has after they defeat the Night King. They would obviously want to rule from Winterfell, and if Cersei has eliminated that, she has them on the ropes. So that would make it all the more easier for her and the Golden Company to come in and wipe out the remaining House Stark and House Targaryen lines in one fell swoop. One thing that could very well be an option is that all of this is a giant hoax. They could have already finished the filming that they needed to at that set in Winterfell, and the rest of them are interior shots, so there's another location they're using for that part. But would not this be hilarious if this was all just a giant troll, so everyone in this community just went a-buzzing, and it was just misleading and a misdirection on the director's part? I, for one, will be laughing my butt off. But you guys let me know what you think down below. Do you think this was a hoax? Do you think that it's Cersei who set Winterfell on fire? Or do you think it was the Night King? One thing's for certain is there will be a time jump at some point during Season 8. Whether it's between Episode 5 and Episode 6 to show us, Episode 6 being the conclusion of everything, and maybe there's a few months' time to kind of have Westeros heal over a little bit. Maybe everyone who suffered crazy injuries in Episode 5, they'll have a little bit of time to heal so that we can have them actually speaking in these final scenes. But it could also happen mid-season where we have insane situations going on, and then the next episode there's a time jump where they kind of showed how that conclusion ends by just picking up right where they last left off. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. If you could please slap a like on it. The like goal for this video will be 421. If you want to be entered into my contest to win this $25 Amazon gift card, all you have to do is click the link right up here, and that'll take you to a website where you can enter in all these different bonus ways. And also here, you can go ahead and subscribe, turn notifications on, and then leave a comment down below to be entered in to win the contest as well. I want to give a super special shout out to Terry and Mario. They are the executive producers of this video, and without them, this kind of content would not be possible. If anyone watching would like to show your support to Sir Hunt's Reviews, all you have to do is click the link right here, or you can check the link down below in the description. I want to thank you all again so much for watching, and a super special shout out to every single member of my Patreon family. This has been Sir Hunt's Reviews.